My name's Kevin, and I've been a professional photographer, just to give you some background, for 30 plus years. And I've been fortunate to travel. I'm using my iPad just to control things here. How are we doing up there? Talk. Yes, I'm going to do that, okay? Just give me a break. Give me a minute here. All right. I've been a photographer for 30 years, professional photographer, and I've been able to travel the world as a photographer, taking people on trips, photographers on trips, and now taking people on spiritual foodie adventure tours. It is something that I've been passionate about for my entire life, and that's important to know. About 2008, just before 2008, I got a message from one of my best friends who's also a professional photographer, and he was in the Congo. There were rebels from the Congolese army that were attacking a small village, and he was there just to document, to see what he could do to help. And what he said was, "I'm not sure I'm going to make it home. We just found out, I hear gunshots and explosions right down the street from our little village, and the rebels are actually coming towards our village. And so we're all huddled, hiding in a bedroom right now, praying, contacting our families, hoping we're going to make it home." And he did. And when he came home, he had some images from that trip that blew me away. And they were not of the violence, they were not of the conflict, they were of children in an orphanage led by a beautiful woman named Mama. That's all we knew her by, was Mama. And these pictures spoke to my heart so deeply that I knew I had to do something. So we rallied up money in our family, money in our company, money from our customers. We got a fund together. We said we're going to donate money to help them because they needed to build a school. They didn't have a schoolhouse. And so we raised money, sent it to Mama in Africa, into Rwanda, and we raised money to build a little tiny mud schoolhouse, but it was a big step in the right direction. And then we got a video a few days later from Mama. And Claire and I watched this video of her on a borrowed camera, barely able to contain her joy at this gift she had received from us. And we were just like, "Oh, sugar, we got to go to Africa." And that's what she said. She's in her video. She says, "You need to come see me. I want to thank you personally. Come see me. Come to Africa." So within a few weeks, we had a plane ticket. Claire and I and a bunch of our staff, we rallied a team together. We went to Africa to meet Mama. And that's our beautiful Mama with her 2 sons and her village of kids and the little schoolhouse we helped to build. And when we got there, it was the first time that I had traveled really out of my comfort zone. Like, I've been traveling for a while, but this was the first time I traveled to what I thought was going to be a war-torn, middle of nowhere place, which it kind of was. Rwanda, as you know, the genocide was still fresh. That happened just a few years before it was done, so it was pretty rough. And I was scared. But I got there, and they treated us with such love and care, took us into their homes. They fed us with food that they had rationed out for the rest of the month, and they used up their entire month's supply to feed us dinner as guests. And I could hear the mom and dad kind of arguing in the next room that night as we slept, talking about, we have no food left for the rest of the month because we just fed these people. And we have, of course, insisted, we're going to pay, we're going to give you, we're going to make sure you have food for the rest of the month. No, you are our guests. There's no way. When I was ready to leave, after spending some time there, Mama was she was like a sage. She could just sit and look at you and see into your soul. And she said, "I want to sit down with each one of you." So she sat down with each one of us, and she sat across from us, and she told me, "You're going to be a spiritual leader someday." And I laughed because it was like the furthest thing from my mind, of course. I'm a photographer. What are you talking about? And she said, You're going to be a spiritual leader someday. And I just found that in my journal. I hadn't even thought about that until I was preparing for this talk. I was looking back in my journal over my notes from that experience, and I'm like, oh my God, that's what she said all those years ago. Mama passed, I think, 6 or 7 years ago, but she left an amazing, amazing legacy with her orphanage there. I don't travel anymore to war-torn countries. With that said, I don't travel in fear anymore, ever. No matter where I'm going, I go with love. And it's been transformative for my life. And I wanted to share in this talk with you guys some of the things that I feel are important that we take to heart as spiritual travelers and traveling spiritually, which I'm going to talk about. There's a difference there. The world is a book, and those who do not travel read only one page. Isn't that awesome, St. Augustine? And I want to ask all of you, are you living your life just on one page? Or are you living out your whole book of potential? That's what we want to do. And I think that travel, I want to clarify, if you can't travel, if you are physically unable, if you are really just like destitute, there's no way you could travel, I understand. You can apply these principles that we're going to talk about no matter where you travel. If you travel down to Prineville for the day, or you travel to Redmond, which is a foreign country to some of us, wherever you go, you can take what I call the traveler's mindset. Used to be TM, stand for Transcendental Meditation, but I'm reclaiming it, traveler's mindset. Forget what you know about Transcendental Meditation, traveler's mindset. That's what we're going to take with us. That's what we develop when we travel, and what we can take with us wherever we go, even if it's just down to Prineville. So, the spiritual traveler, one part of this is somebody who is on a journey spiritually in their life, right? I think all of us, is anybody here on a journey, or you're there already? You found it. Who's found it? Who's on a journey? Who's found it? Who's on a journey? Okay, good. Most of us on a journey. You are a spiritual traveler. Are you also traveling spiritually? Do you travel with intention? Traveling doesn't mean going from point A to point B, going to Club Med, hanging out, drinking Mai Tais, never leaving the resort, and then coming back home. That's traveling, but it's not traveling intentionally. Big difference when you travel intentionally. So there's so many things, as I was thinking about this talk, there were so many lessons that I've learned through my years and years of travel that apply to my life, that I've seen shape me, my children, hopefully my children's children. But I've narrowed it down to 6 core principles that I think are really important. So let's talk. The first essential traveler's quality is curiosity. Voracious, tenacious. I gotta know curiosity, the curiosity that pushes you to talk to strangers. Claire, my wife, if you guys don't know, is the queen of talking to strangers, as you guys probably have noticed if you've known her for a while. But when we travel, she will talk to anybody, everybody, in the oddest places sometimes, which kind of embarrasses me sometimes. But I have really opened up, because I'm slightly shy. Actually, you wouldn't think of it right now, but I actually am shy. I'm kind of an introvert. But when I'm traveling, I change. I want to be open. I want to ask. I want to be curious. I want to have conversations with weirdos on the street, because inevitably we learn something amazing. We meet the most amazing people. And do you know why we meet the most amazing people on our trips? Well, thank you, but no. Because we expect to meet amazing people. We know we're going to meet amazing people. We put it out there. We're going to meet amazing people on this trip, and we do every single trip. Somebody amazing, from the smallest simple encounter to the biggest thing that leads us on some crazy, crazy-ass journey. We meet amazing people. One of my favorite, we have so many. This is a place called The Wave. I don't know if any of you have heard about this, but it's in Arizona. And you can only get there by lottery ticket. They have 64 passes available a day. 64 people a day can only go here, and you have to stand in line or put your online lottery amongst thousands of people. And Claire and I went there, and hoping we were on an RV trip, and we said, well, let's go wait in line at the ranger station and see if we can get tickets. First day, nope. Level 6, there's hundreds of people there. The next day we go, let's try it again. We wait. No, we didn't get tickets. We're like, crap. So we're just like, okay, let's go. We're going to go just somewhere else. We'll go hiking. So we decided to go drive down to this beautiful other hike we had looked up. And then we're walking down our way to the hike. And as we're walking to the hike, this couple's walking towards us. And Claire, of course, starts talking to them like, oh, hi, where are you guys going? What are you doing? Come back here. Let's talk. So they stop. We start talking, and they're like, where are you guys going? We were going to go to the Wave, but my boyfriend hurt his foot, and so we have to turn around, actually. And we're like, oh, my God, I heard about that. That's an awesome place. Like, do you want our passes? It's right up there. The trailhead is just right up there. We're like, we didn't even know we were anywhere near the Wave. And we're like, okay, this seems kind of legit. Like, they didn't use them. We can get on the passes, and we're not exceeding the quotas for the day or everything. So we're like, sure. So they took the pass off their pack, gave us their pack. They hobbled back to the car, and we went up ahead, followed the treasure map, and made our way over to the Wave, which was one of the most gorgeous places I've ever encountered. I mean, I have so many other pictures. I'm going to narrow it down, but it was, again, one of those things that if Claire hadn't been curious enough to just start a conversation with a random stranger who was busy hobbling this direction, we would have never been able to go, never been able to experience it. Curiosity is what opens the door to possibility. Traveling, but in life. How often do we make time like that to talk to somebody at the grocery store, gas station? We've had extended times at gas stations here in Bend because Claire has to talk to the guy for like 20 minutes. And I love it. Every time she starts, I'm like, here we go again. And then I'm like, I'm so glad you did that. That was the funniest guy we've ever talked to. I'm like, he made me laugh. The guy, we meet some crazy gas station attendants, I tell you. I love this one here. E.E. Cummings said, once we believe in ourselves, we can risk curiosity, wonder, spontaneous delight, or any experience that reveals the human spirit. Right? If you believe in yourself, if you have the confidence to say hello, to put yourself into uncomfortable situations, anything is possible. That's where true joy, that's where I'm getting at, because I believe that there is a problem with maybe our society, maybe it's our world as a whole, is that people have an emptiness. There's a sense of longing, like, I can do more with my life. I could be more. I could do more. I could see more. I'm not quite there. Does anybody think that? You don't have to raise your hand, but just think about it. Do you ever feel like you could be and be doing more than what you're doing? For some reason, we're not satisfied, and that's sort of like a pandemic in itself. And I believe that once we practice these principles as travelers or as humans and traveling in our own neighborhoods, this will pull out what we need to feel that joy once again. Curiosity also leads me, like when we're hiking, sometimes I'll be looking at rocks and saying, that looks like something, or that cloud, that looks like something, that tree looks like something. And I saw this tree once, and I said, that kind of looks like a giraffe. What do you guys think? Is that kind of like a giraffe a little bit? Yeah, I think so. See, curiosity creates a lot of fun on the trail, and there's nothing else to look at. The other quality is resilience. Resilience is the ability to go from my plan's working to all my plans are not working. Change. I don't even have a plan B. I'm going to go with plan unknown, plan U, which is, what the hell? This is in Bolivia, in Uyuni, which is the salt flats, the largest salt flat in the world. And I went there with Nico and Benjamin, one of my photographer friends, and a couple others. And we had booked, see, what you can see is that the reflection, there's like an inch of water over miles and miles of the salt flats that creates this reflection that's like a mirror. So when you just look, it's just like you're standing in heaven. You see clouds above, clouds below, and you're just floating on the water. It's insanely beautiful. And we had booked a guide, so when we got off this little rickety plane, we flew from the main city, landed in here on Uyuni, and we booked a guide, and we got there, and our guide wasn't there, and I messaged, and he said, "Oh, sorry, we can't help you." I'm like, So here we are in Uyuni with no guide, and I see this guy over here with a little broken down Land Cruiser looking, well, it wasn't broken, actually it worked, and he had a guide sign, so I went over and tried to ask him, and he was a Japanese guy. We're in Bolivia, right? Japanese guy, I'm like, okay, he can't be that real guide here in Bolivia, but that's all we got. So I asked him, he's like, oh yeah, we'll take you on a guided trip. So we booked him, drove down this rickety road, and we're driving, and we're like, we're really hungry. He's like, I'm gonna take you to the most beautiful restaurant in the world. And he pulled out there and started unloading the truck and set up this picnic table for me and my friends to have lunch out on the Uyuni Salt Flats. It was the most amazing meal I've ever had. The food was actually not that good. It was like overcooked chicken, something, I don't know what it was. But the experience was out of this world. He had wine, he had everything. It was the most beautiful thing. I'm like, how did we stumble onto this? Resilience. We just went with the flow. Claire and I got a RV a few years ago, and we were sort of traveling and went to Revelstoke, Canada. And in that trip, we started to go up towards the mountain. We're going to go see the peak. It was rained out. Gate was closed because of bears, so we couldn't even go up there. Like, sorry, bears and rain, no good, can't go. So we turned around, about ready to leave the park, and I saw a little tiny opening in the bushes there. And I said, let's stop. See, I think that's a trailhead. So we stopped, and we peeked through the bushes, and there was this trail leading into the forest, and it's raining. And of course, you're in a rainforest, so we looked at each other and we're like, well, what's the best way to experience a rainforest? In the rain, right? We had our rain jackets on, we had everything we needed. You know the old quote, there's no such thing as bad weather, just poor clothing choices, right? We had everything we needed, so we started to hike, and we had this enchanted forest with little mushrooms everywhere. I was obsessed with photographing mushrooms. I think it took us about 4 hours to hike a mile because we would just stop and, oh, that's so cool, and photographing every little thing along the way and walking through this gorgeous, lush green forest, rain just sort of misting down through the trees upon us, and it was literally one of our favorite hikes in our entire lives that happened by accident as we almost drove by the entrance. But it was that resilience to say, hey, there's something better right around the corner. It's okay. There's always something better just around the corner. But you have to turn the corner, right? You have to go. We went to Yellowstone, and in our RV, and there was nowhere to camp in entire Yellowstone. Couldn't camp in any of the beautiful sites, so we ended up having to camp in some little town outside the park that was not very exciting. But the beauty of it was, the next morning as we came into the park, we had to come in through this little back road to get back into the park. As we were coming in, we saw this scene of the sunrise, the steam, and a fly fisherman casting. We're like, pull over, oh my gosh. So we stopped, and I got one of my favorite pictures that I have of this fly fisherman. I have some with little ducks floating in the middle too, and what was really funny, we sat and watched this guy for a while fly fish, and a buffalo starts walking towards him, a huge buffalo, crosses the river like it's going right towards him, and he didn't even notice. He's just casting his fish, and the buffalo comes right behind him, just walks through the water, and I'm photographing this the whole time as the buffalo walks behind him, and then just goes to the other side of the river, and then finally he turns on and goes, whoa, buffalo! Hello, but he didn't want to stop fishing. One of the things that I have learned, and I think this is part of life, and I think most of you who've lived long enough know too, that resilience can only be learned by overcoming challenge. There's no other way. You can't learn to become a resilient person if you never have challenges. Maybe that'll give us a different way to look at challenges that appear every single day in our lives, right? Appreciating the journey is one of the most powerful things you can do as a traveler or as a passenger in life on our train cars, whatever we are. One of the things that I've realized is that the destination, making a plan and having a destination, is only a means to get your ass going. The destination is just getting you started. The destination doesn't need to be where you're going. It is what gets you started. If you think about it, if you didn't have a goal, I'm going to go to Peru, I'm going to go to Machu Picchu, you would never hop on the plane and go to Peru. And then you get there to Machu Picchu and the park's closed because of some rocks fell down. And now you've got to go meet a shaman, travel to Rainbow Mountain, climb 17,000 feet like you've never climbed before, meet amazing people, eat the best food you've ever, whatever would never happen if you didn't have that destination set to get you over there to get started, right? So destinations, maybe we can all start looking at our destinations, our goals, our plans as a means to get us going. That's it. Whether you make that destination or not actually doesn't really matter. I think it's kind of cool to say you went to Machu Picchu, but if you tell people I had an experience that I think is actually more amazing, they probably won't believe you. They're like, no, everybody has to go to Machu Picchu. That's the goal, right? But it's not. When we were going to Lake Powell, this was our goal. Go to Lake Powell. We had been there once before, had an amazing time camping on the beach. And when Claire and I went just last year, we got to Lake Powell, and it was a sand storm. Like, we couldn't even come out of the RV because the door was like, and then it's like sandblasting, and Claire's like, ooh, free exfoliation, yay! Standing out in the sun, getting all blasted, and she's looking beautiful and radiant, and I think I had COVID at the time, too. I'm like, this sucks. You look beautiful, your skin's nice, but I'm sick, and I can't even go outside. Blah, 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 blah. So we're like, okay, wait. Fortunately, 2 days before, we had met another couple, because Claire, of course, had to talk to them. And they had told us about this beautiful spot they had just gone camping at next to Lake Powell. So I'm like, okay, let's look it up. Boom, I found it on the map. We've got to take the Jeep. It's a four-wheel drive road. There's no way the RV, if you get there, we'll leave the RV, get in the Jeep. We're going to go up to this place, and we're going to go camp up there. So here we go, jump in the Jeep, we drive on this four-wheel drive road like several hours up, and we get to this insanely beautiful point, looking out over the hills and the water, and we watch the sunset. We set up a tent. I went and actually bought a tent on the way there from the from the local tent place, or whatever they call them, because I was like so desperate. We're going to have a damn good time tonight. I'm going to buy a tent, and I'm going to bring my blankie and my Snuggie pillow and everything and my teddy bear. We're going to go. So we set up our tent and got to camp to that, sleeping, and then the sunrise was gorgeous the next morning. And we had an amazing experience that we never would have had our destination not been thwarted, covered with a sandstorm. It happens all the time. All the time. The most amazing things happen that are not in our plans, that are accidents, because we're open to that. Claire shared a funny joke with me, talking about being on the right road. She says, what was that joke you said? Don't. So, I don't know what I was going to say. Don't be blaming others if you're on the wrong road in life. That's your own ass fault. Okay, you got it. Thank you. All right. The other quality is perspective and respect. When we travel, this was in Thailand, in the Aka tribe. It was funny, Nika was like a whole body taller than everybody there. It was pretty hilarious. But when we travel, we have to respect other cultures, right? Otherwise, they just run you out of the country. It's like, no way. So you learn that you're not the center of the universe anymore. Very hard for Americans sometimes to accept that when we travel. We're not the center of the universe. We have to be humble. We have to be curious. We have to ask questions. We have to eat crap that we really don't want to eat. Sometimes it tastes good, sometimes it doesn't. My worst was a tarantula, fried tarantula in Cambodia, which it was okay. It was kind of like soft shell crab, and everything was okay until I got to the little orange butt sack thing, which pretty much tasted like what you would think. It was nasty, and I won't do that again, but I still will try almost anything. And Nico, unfortunately, has that same talent. He will try to eat anything once. But perspective. Can you see how having an open mind about other cultures can benefit us back home when we deal with people of different political backgrounds, different social backgrounds, even the difference between Redmond and Prineville, or sisters even, weirdos and sisters. Oh my God, I don't get you guys. How powerful is that when we can go and coexist beautifully and appreciate a completely different culture? It should be so easy to come back and appreciate people that are pretty close to ours, right? It's not impossible. I love this one. Travel is fatal to prejudice, bigotry, and narrow-mindedness. Mark Twain. Isn't that true? And I want to remind you guys, too, some of you might think, I wish I could travel, but I can't. I just can't. It's not in the cards for me right now. It's okay, but try. Work towards it. You don't have to travel on extensive budgets. You can travel on small budgets. You can travel like hop in your van and go camping in the next state. But travel. Get outside. Travel is the one place you can practice what you preach. What we preach here, you can practice your spiritual principles most effectively when you're out of your comfort zone traveling. Am I right? Yeah. By far, that is the best way I've learned to put my money where my mouth is to get on a plane and go someplace I'm really uncomfortable. And then learn to be comfortable there, because I have to. To travel is to discover that everyone is wrong about other countries. I love that, because I've seen this so many times. I've shared here before about one of our travels. We went to Peru a couple years ago. Took a group to Machu Picchu. Some are in the room here. Where'd they go? There she is. And just before the trip happened, there was some political stuff going on in Machu Picchu in Peru, and some of the people in our trip got scared, and they canceled their trip. And I understood it, but the crazy thing was that most everybody stuck it out. We got there, and because everybody was scared away, we had the whole place to ourselves. We had Machu Picchu like you've never seen it, not so crowded. We had people eager to welcome us because they were tired of not having any income for so many months because of the political crap going on. And we didn't have any hint, not one hint of anything negative going on. But if I had listened to the news, if we had started putting our fear hats on, thinking about what could happen, what other people were saying, rather than I talked to the locals there and I found out from them, is it as bad as they say? He's like, no. But we could have ruined one of the best trips of our lives. The other quality is faith. I can't even believe how powerful this is. When we bought our RV in 2017, we had no idea what we were doing. Here we buy this RV, and we decided we're going to go on a 2-month road trip, live in the RV for 2 months. So Claire and I hopped in that thing, and we had no plan, and we were freaking out. We were like, where are we going to stay? We have no reservations. She's like, I don't want to sleep in a Walmart parking lot, please. That's my worst nightmare. I'm like, no, baby, we can do this. We won't sleep in a Walmart parking lot. Maybe Sears or something else, not Walmart. 7-Eleven, we'll do it. But we decided, okay, we're going to put our faith that Spirit is with us to the test and just drive out the driveway and figure it out. And she's told this many times, and I share it too, that it was life-changing for us to do that because everything worked beautifully. It wasn't that we didn't have problems. We had all kinds of problems. But overall, it was the most amazing experience ever. Life-changing, literally life-changing. We got to this one spot. This was in one of our trips to Canada. The Columbia Glacier is an amazing place. Anybody's been there in Jasper, Canada? It's just mind-blowing. And we had camped just below here, and we were going to go hike up to the top, to the peak, to get this incredible view we'd heard about. And as we're packing up our stuff to go hiking, it starts to rain, and then there's some hail, and there's some ice, and we're like, let's just go. Come on, we can do this. So we go, and as we're going to the trail, people are kind of like coming down the trail, scurrying down, and they're not dressed very well. It doesn't make any sense, but they're coming down. So we decided, no, we can do this. We're prepared. We're dressed properly. We have the right gear. We're strong hikers. We know what we're doing. We know where to go. Have faith. So we went. Everybody was coming down. We continued the other direction, got to the top, and got one of the most amazing views of the Columbia Glacier, Athabasca, at the Columbia ice field, Athabasca Glacier. Thank you. And the clouds parted, the sky was clear. We were the only ones up there in this vast wilderness overlooking this insane view. And we thought, man, what if we had given up? What if we had turned around and saw everybody going back and said, ooh, that's a bad sign, we got to follow them? And I think that's important because we knew this was the right thing to do. And I think that's important in all of our lives every day. When you know it's the right thing to do, you know it's going to be okay, you know that Spirit's with you, you go, and something amazing will happen. We could have gotten blown off the top of the cliff, but then I would have learned to fly, and that would have been a whole other exciting thing to talk about today. Awe and wonder. It's really easy when you go to these amazing places to be in awe, to notice the beauty and the little things, from the little magical mushrooms that we're on our trail to the giant mountain peaks. All of that is so beautiful. Well, what about right down the street? Do you look out the window right now? And what do you guys think about the mountains today? Do you drive home every day, look at the mountains, and are you in awe of how beautiful it is? Good. Yeah, we know. And how can we carry that with us to every little place we go? One of my favorite sunsets, this was right down in the old mill. Walking down the river trail there one night, and the sunset was reflecting in the water. It was just jaw-dropping. In Death Valley, we climbed up to this lookout point just as the clouds parted, and it was like God was saying, you're here, take a picture, and then sit down and be quiet, which we did. I think the more we can appreciate just the beautiful places, the beautiful things that are right in front of us sometimes. Again, it's easy when you're traveling. We see so many beautiful, awe-inspiring places, but what about what's right in front of you every day that's so beautiful? What people are right in front of you every day that inspire awe and wonder? You know this place, yeah? The Mokulua Islands off of Lanikai and Kailua, where Bill and I and Claire all grew up. We used to hike up to the pillboxes up there to watch the sunrise in the mornings. Some of you may have done that before. It's a magical place. So these are our 6 qualities: curiosity, resilience, appreciation for the journey you're on, whatever it is, putting it all in perspective and having respect for the culture, the people that you're with, having faith that where you're going is the right place to be, and making sure you're in awe and wonder every day of all that's around you. This was White Sands, New Mexico, another jaw-dropping place. One of my favorite stories, I'm going to have this last story before I wrap it up here, is we were in Navajo country, Canyon de Chelly. Anybody been there before? Beautiful place. And we had parked our RV that morning, and Claire and I, believe it or not, were having a little bit of a tiff. I know, right? We were not agreeing that morning. I don't know if I didn't put the sink in the right way or whatever, the bed. And so we're having a little bit of tiff, and we're like getting ready to go drive to these beautiful places in the canyon, and we decided, okay, let's stop and reset. So just before we drove off, we said, let's do a prayer. We held hands, and we did a prayer, and I don't remember the words of the prayer, but I remember it was about gratitude, being grateful for what we have, where we are. And so we said that. It was a perfect reset. We're like, okay, let's go have a beautiful day. We drove up to the first lookout over the canyon, and there at the lookout, there are Navajo women generally selling jewelry and trinkets and things like that, souvenirs, and most of it is not that great, and we'd seen a lot of them so far, but this one woman had some really beautiful jewelry, some really like handmade, different than everybody else, and we stopped at her stall, and we started talking to her, and of course, Claire's like, blah, 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 question, and I'm like, okay, fine, question, and jump in there, and we ask questions, and we asked her, like, what is it like to be a woman in Navajo country? She said, well, actually, women here get to own the houses and control if the men can live there or not. And we're like, that's sick. Nice. And she started opening up to us, and I said, oh, let me run back to the camper. I've got a sticker, and we carry these stickers with us that say, aloha is as aloha does. And we give that to everybody when we meet people when we're traveling. So I said, I'm going to get a sticker for you. And I told her what aloha meant. And she said, oh. I said, what is it? Is there a Navajo equivalent to aloha? And she thought about it for a moment, and she goes, yeah. And she shared, and I said, wait, I got my recorder out, and I recorded her. So I'm going to play it. There's a little bit of wind, but you can hear.
Okay. Hajonche'ina, meaning to walk in beauty.
Thank you. Meaning to walk in beauty. Hajon Sha'ina, I think is what she said. To walk in beauty. And that became sort of a mantra for us for the rest of our journey was how can we walk in beauty wherever we go? And then if traveling around the road a little later, I went to a gift shop and I saw this painted on a sign, which is a Navajo prayer. That says, as you walk, may you walk in beauty. Beauty before you, beauty behind you, beauty above you, beauty around you. So beautiful. And I looked it up, and there's a longer version of that, but that's just a beautiful, beautiful, shortened reminder. When I was in college, my mom gave me my first international trip. It was a study abroad for 1 month, all over Europe, London, Paris, Rome. It was incredible. We didn't have much money, but she scraped together enough to send me on this trip. And it changed my life. It was the thing that got me so believing in the power of travel and putting myself in other countries. My mom she is the epitome of traveling in beauty. She's the epitome of living kindness for everyone. I think that we think of traveling as, what can I get out of it? What can I learn? What can I see? What souvenirs can I bring home with me? And that's important because that's what I'm talking about. What can we learn from travel? But I think what my mom also taught me was, what can we give? And I want to add this to that, is what can you give when you travel? Whether it's down the street or around the world, can you bring joy? Can you bring curiosity? Can you bring kindness to every stranger, every different person than you out there? Can you maybe leave them with a better impression of Americans when you leave? Can you do your part? I see the effects of this love of travel. My mom, she came from Mississippi, a very small town called Decatur, Mississippi. Traveled across the country, across the ocean to Hawaii, where she met my dad, and decided to marry him, and he's Japanese. And her family did not like that, and basically disowned her when they couldn't break up the wedding. And she couldn't go back for a long time. But my mom knew the value. I mean, Hawaii, Decatur, Mississippi, they're two different countries. Really. Like, she was in a third world country. I don't know which one is more third world, but probably her home. It took a lot for her to do that and to have faith that it was going to be a beautiful thing. And that started it for me. We just got news last night that my mom has about 3 or 4 days left. I wanted to honor her and not cry this whole talk, and I hope that I've honored you, Mom, and I hope I've passed on your love for people, for your love for life, your love for kindness, your generosity, and your sense of wonder in the world. May we have touched with just one person in this room today. Thank you, Mom.